Alright, welcome back to episode 6 of the Josef tutorial. And today I'm gonna bite the bullet and get rid of my ring building mechanism, because as much as I like it, it's just not good enough. It's bad for UPS and it's bad power wise, and yeah, it's just not the way to go, I think. I liked it because it was way easier than what I'm trying to do now, but I think I managed to yeah, make this work in a more smooth fashion, I guess. The general idea is I'm gonna build a spiral instead of the bursty ring thing that I had before. And yeah, I think I'll try and explain the basic mechanism that I made here. You can see the overall finished thing's more gonna look like this, which is an absolute mess. And I'm not sure in how much detail I can manage to describe this, because I built this last night and I'm not even sure I remember all the parts. But yeah, I'll start with the general idea, which is, well, I'm kind of a visual thinker, I guess, so I tried to make this as visual as possible. If all the green wires here are in the top left chest, that means the top left cell is going to be built. And the way this works is, this combinator reads the content of the left side, this one reads the content of the right side, this one of the top row and this one of the bottom row, and they multiply respectively by half of the cell size that I want. So I have 4 chunks, so this is multiplying it by -2 chunks here and by +2 chunks or +64 here. And the way this works is when this inserter activates once and puts one wire from here to there, there's gonna be one less here and one more there. So overall it's gonna be like half the cell size subtracted from here and half the cell size added to this one. So in total it's gonna go, the step size basically is gonna be one whole cell size. I'm just gonna flip this on so you can see at the moment it's at -128 and -128, so that would be the top left corner. And if I give this a little flick here, so you see it moved 1, and now it's at -128 in Y direction because they're still all in the top row, but the X direction basically they cancel out because it's 1 here and 1 here. So this would be the top center cell. And if I flick it again, it's gonna be moved to here. Wait, I think I already messed up. Let me see. I think I know what I forgot. This can only ever send one tick, a signal for one tick, because otherwise 2 of those are gonna activate simultaneously. So what I should do is pause. Okay, so now I skipped 1 basically. So now I'm in the center right here. If I pause it now and give it 1 tick input and turn it back off again, this should only move this one, yeah. And pause it again, give it 1 input again. Then, sorry, now I blocked the side, but now you can see it moved from the from the bottom right to the center, bottom center position, and so on. So it's gonna cycle around. This is the general idea. It's a bit hard to show. Wait, I'm gonna make a few changes to be able to show this better, I think. Alright, I think this is better to showcase this. I just built in a little delay basically, so it's only gonna send 1 tick, then the wire is gonna go around in the loop and then send another tick. So now we can hopefully see how this properly cycles through when I turn this on. Yeah, this is gonna be a bit slower now. So it's 128 in Y direction, and nothing's working. Why? Oh, this was a great demonstration, wasn't it? It's always this one that messes me up. Okay, now it should work. Yeah, here we go. So now it's moved to the bottom left, and then it's gonna be moved to -128 in X direction, which is the left side. And yeah, now it's back at the top. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off for a while. And this is the basic, this is just the inner ring basically. And if I instead put in 4 wires here, this is going to be now at minus 256, so it's going to be the top left corner in the second row. And if I turn this back on, you can see it slowly cycles. Well, should have gone for a shorter belt there. Yeah, now it's in the second, so in the top row in the second cell. Now it's in the top row in the middle, and yeah, you get the drill, I guess. Now it's cycling through the next ring. One issue that you may see here is while the wire is in the inserter hand, there's this half signal, so it quickly goes to 192 in this case, which I definitely want to avoid, because otherwise I'm gonna say, wait, do I have say place a blueprint something like here or like here, because it's going to be shifted by 50% of the cell size, which would be very bad. So yeah, what I do to prevent this is basically block the output of all of this so I read the hand contents here as hold. Where is it? Here, like this. And if there's anything in any of these inserters, I block the outputs of this whole mess. So that just means I'm not gonna let through any half finished signals. Yeah, that's the basic idea. One thing I have to do is, there's still a lot of complications that you have to deal with. One of them is, of course, you have to feed in new wires, because you want to increase the number of, increase the ring that you're going through. And another thing that you have to take care of is when you just let this, or if you just let this run and say let it all return to the top left and then add some more, that's going to lead to the top left cell being overwritten, which would be very annoying, because, well, once the wires are in here again, the coordinates that this sends will be the top left corner coordinates again. So what you want is basically, once this one does its last swing for this round, you want at the same time to add in more wires here, so that instead of going to the top left of the existing ring, it's going to go to the top left of the next ring in question. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, one other thing, you can see this one doesn't activate until this one is finished, which, otherwise they would just go around in circles all the time. The way this works is, it's a bit hard to see, but this combinator basically reads the chest contents from the top row and only lets this one activate when the top row is empty, and the same goes for all of those. So this one only activates when these two are empty, and this just leads to, you can see, this one isn't active now because there's still a wire in here, and the second this one goes empty and there's wires in this one. This one basically knows that it's his turn to activate. So now you can see this one will activate, and then this one will wait for the bottom row to empty. Okay, I think that's the very basics. This of course has to be changed to something that tells me, okay, I actually want to build the next cell now, and yeah, that's not actually that difficult, or not that different from what I've been doing before. Yeah, wait, I think I'll just show the whole thing first, which is going to be a bit of a mess because I have to reset it, which is still very annoying. So yeah, I'll just jump forward a little bit until this is ready to go. Alright, so I cleaned this up a little bit and I hope this should work now. Yeah, I think I'll go through it first. So this is basically the part that I just showed with the positions of the wires here indicating the position of the cell that I'm at right now. And this one is the mechanism that feeds new wires into this, which basically just follows, so all these combinators here just calculate how many, well, depending on how many times this inserter has swung, so basically at what ring I'm at right now, this determines the number of cells that should be built until the next ring has to be built. So say for n equal 1, which would, yeah, I've changed my counting when it comes to this. I used to regard this as the first ring, and I'm not doing this anymore. This might be a bit confusing if you've seen earlier things that I did. So the first ring is going to be basically making a 3x3 grid. So if once I have 9 finished cells, this thing will tell it, you can see the output is 9 here. So that just says, 9 should be the number of cells that I want to build before I have to put in new wires here. And yeah, this down here is one of these little counting circle things. I've been using them quite a lot. It's highly unprofessional, I guess, but I mean, you can just basically you can extend this, of course, you can make it longer, or you can use belts if you want more things to start and stop and read out. But the general idea is just, I can say read the hand contents of this to give a pulse every time it moves, and like this basically count how many times this has been cycled, and I can activate or block these with different conditions. So I can say, for example, once the next cell has been finished building and once the robots are inactive, I let these cycle and basically increase this whole number here by 1 in order to build the next cell. So this is the general idea of these. It's basically something like a little bit of I'm not a programmer, but it's basically a memory. Well, no, I'm not gonna say. I'm just gonna mess it up if I try to use technical terms on this. It works. That's my technical term. Okay, so this basically, every time I want to build a new cell, this green wire here gets cycled once. This guy counts basically how many cells have been built, or actually it counts what cell, or the cell number that should be built next. So actually it's at 1 now because it's in its mind it's not finished the first cell. And I'm gonna flip it on in a bit and then see what happens here. And yeah, this, every time this cycles, this inserter, as I said, is set to read hand contents and triggers a dot signal here, which will then allow this mechanism to go one step further. I think I'll just turn this on. You can maybe observe the mini-map a little bit and see what goes on and compare it to the green wires here. That might be useful. Okay, I'll pause real quick. Is it paused? Yeah. And turn this on, just so I can get rid of the annoying combinator window before actually starting it. Okay, now I'm gonna unpause it. As I said, keep an eye on the minimap and on these chests here, and you'll hopefully see what's going on. So there we go. The first wires are put in, and the top left cell is built because it's in the top left chest here. Now if I increase this by 1 again, wait, pause. And unpause. You can see the counting cycle here does one cycle, and this wire got moved here, and this is building the next cell. And say I want to build 3 at once. You can see it slowly builds around, and the wire here basically indicates the position where I'm at. And I think I'll just go straight to the next ring. Say I want to do 12. This is going to take a little time, but you can see the moment, this is basically preparing, and then the moment this one swings for the last time, this one activates as well and makes sure that I'm in the next row. And oops. Yeah, you can see it's built a total of 12 cells, or actually 13, because it's waiting for getting the signal that the 13th cell has been finished. So this is basically telling him, okay, 12 have been finished, start the 13th cell, and if I put in a 13 here, it's gonna, build the 14th one. So say I have, for no particular reason, let's use 7 squared. What this should do is make a 7x7 grid and then start the 50th cell basically. So go one further than the 7x7 grid. And I'll just look at this in the map view, I think. yeah, it takes a little bit of time because the cycling mechanisms are a bit slow, but it doesn't matter because I'm gonna have long breaks between those anyways, because the way I want to do this is build one cell, then have the train go there and analyze it, and then have the train come back and then build the next cell. So this is going to be a very steady, gradual process compared to the bursty ring building mechanism that I had before. Yeah, you can see this is working quite nicely, I think. It was actually, compared to the ring, I mean the ring, coming up with this ring building thing took me maybe half an hour to get the general idea, and then of course it took a little bit of time to actually make it work properly, but this was such a headache to come up with to begin with. Like, this was maybe one of the trickiest combinator things that I had to build, and I'm really happy that it works now. I think the trickiest part was dealing with the not overwriting the top left cell, because you can see, I mean, the normal thing that this would do would just be return to its initial position in the top left corner, but by then this cell would also already have some would be a mining cell or production or something, so I don't ever want to overwrite this again. So yeah, as promised, it's a 7x7 grid, and it started the 50th cell here. Obviously it's not building all of those, but you get the point, I guess. And yeah, I think this is working quite nicely. I'm sorry if I can't properly explain this in great detail. I might see if I forgot any crucial points. I mean, this maybe about this part here. So first of all, this guy is gonna basically cycle once the correct number of cells has been reached. So in this case, it's waiting for a 9x9 grid to be finished here. So the red wire signal here is 81. So once 81 cells have been built, this is going to trigger this inserter. I don't think there's any good reason for this being a yellow one, actually. And the way this thing here works is, once there's only one wire left in these two chests, and at the same time there's something in here, this will trigger together with this one. So if there's only one wire left in here, the next thing that would happen would be, well, this would get recycled here, and I would be in the top left corner again. And to avoid this, those two will trigger simultaneously, and there will be two new wires be put in here to jump to the next ring. Yeah, this is just basically, this is going to be replaced by the actual input from the global circuit network, which is just going to tell it the number of different cells that have been built. So the number of signal 1s here is the water cells, signal 2 is mining, 3 is production, and 4 is power cells. So yeah, this basically just tells it how many cells the train has analyzed and finished. And yeah, this one, wait, what's this? Yeah, of course, this is just gonna tell it to actually cycle, to start the cycling here. So once the number of actual cells that have been built, which is, yeah, it's a bit confusing. I have these combinators here, which usually send out a dot signal for new cells, and then one of these numbers for being finished analyzing. And what this does is just tell it to build the next ring once the last cell has been finished building. There's a few more little safeguards involved, like waiting for robots to be idle again and stuff like that, but that's not really going to be implemented in this one. But when I actually start combining this with all the other things that have been built, or actually I have already done this, to be honest. So yeah, I think I'll just jump to my proper test map and see how this goes together with the cell analysis thing and all those good things. Yeah, so I'll switch maps once again. Okay, here we are on my first test map, and you can see there's two of these monsters, and there's probably going to be a third one at least. They're just well, this one will be basically running one cell ahead for the land filling, and this will be the normal cell building thing. And I've made a few changes here and a few like improvements. First of all, if you remember, I have this system where I take out the the robots from the global network once cell building is finished, and obviously I had to change this system a little bit. The way this works now is just if there's let me see, if the number of cells that has been built is bigger or equal to the cells that are supposed to be built, then it's gonna take out the robot. So A is the signal for get rid of the global construction bots, basically. But this will only happen if the bots are idle. So that means they're actually done building and there's enough materials, so enough landfill, enough rails, stations, and constant combinators for some reason, which seemed to be running out last night. I don't know, I was a bit tired and didn't do the testing properly, I guess. But yeah, the general idea here is wait for the cell to be finished, then the new cell that they're building to be finished, then wait for them to be idle and make sure that they're actually idle because they're done and not because they're running out of materials. And if that is all the case, then take out the bots. And at the same time, if the number of cells that have been built is strictly less than the cells that are supposed to be built, put them back in. So B is the put them back in signal. And I'm gonna wait for the train to be, the builder train to be back home. That's just to avoid like interference between the local and the global building processes. So those two combinators basically say, okay, I want to build a new cell and the train has come back home. Let's go, robots. That's their job. Okay. And this is also feeding back to the like allowing the train to start only when something has happened. Man, I was really tired last night, I realized. This is also just telling the train to start once the new cell has been finished building, basically. Okay, one thing I don't want to do, so I was just sending a constant construction signal. I forgot to explain those guys. Those are just making sure, so this is sending a red signal when y is equal to 0 and when x is equal to 0. And this is outputting a construction bot signal only if one of these is not true. So this prevents me from overwriting my center cell here, because this is never going to send a construction bot signal when both the x and y offsets are 0. And I used to have this just connected here, which turns out once again is very, very bad for UPS, because I'm basically constantly placing a huge blueprint every tick. And instead what I did is use this little cycling mechanism here to have, I don't know, it's like 2 seconds or something, a few ticks where the blueprint gets placed. And then once it gets taken off these belts, the blueprint placement stops. So that just makes sure that I'm not wasting processing power on basically constantly placing the same blueprint on top of itself. As I said, this is just basically running one step ahead. The reason the way I'm handling this is I just have really, really plain and stupid here. I have this signal. Once the first thing is detected, this is gonna just increase the number of cells that it thinks has been built by 1. So this is basically just gonna assume the first cell has already been built and jump 1 ahead, and it's gonna have like these landfill things here which have the same deploy condition as here, and the roboports which are deployed constantly. This has to do with placing things on top of landfill. So say I want to build a new cell here and I'm placing the landfill blueprint once, and I'm gonna have to place the blueprint with everything I want to place on the landfill constantly, because I have to make sure that the landfill is actually completely built, and then I place the blueprint again, which is a bit annoying. But yeah, it's not too bad because it's only like a few 8 roboports and a few power poles and stuff, and it's not like 10,000 rails and landfill, so performance-wise this is fine. Just placing this very slim blueprint here on top of the landfill constantly, this is fine. I just don't want to place something like, say, this constantly with the 10,000 landfill in there. Okay, yeah, I think this is more or less what's going on here. I probably forgot a few things, but I think this is the best I can do right now. Yeah, one thing I want to change real quick. 1 second. Okay, just a very minor change, because I had this annoying problem. So in this state now, there's no robots in this cell, and this led to the train starting when I fired the whole thing up, which was very annoying. So yeah, I just put in this little time delay here, so when I switch this on, hopefully what's gonna happen is these get filled up with robots, and before this wire reaches this chest, which would allow the train to start, so this is waiting for another checkmark symbol here, but it's also checking for robots being equal to 0. So once robots get fed into the roboports here, this will not be true anymore, and it won't matter that this is true. That's just like a little safeguard to run this, to start this up properly. Yeah, I think I can give this a try, I hope. And I mean, I've already tried it, but I did change a few things, so I'm not sure how this is gonna go. One thing I'm gonna add, I guess, is a third one of these, which basically runs one cell behind, deconstructing the blueprint deployer. So I'm gonna have a blueprint deployer in every cell here, and the easiest way to get rid of this, I figured, is just running 1 or 2 cells behind and deconstructing all the blueprint deployer things, because yeah, they're an annoyance. They actually use a lot of UPS, it seems, and yeah, I can easily get rid of them like this without having to do any changes in my inner cell logic. By the way, this is the very nice thing about the changes I'm making here. I'm not at all touching this book, basically. This is staying completely unchanged. Yeah, by the way, talking about it, I have made a few changes. First of all, thanks to Galdosh, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, who has made some really cool improvements to the mining cell. I think I'm gonna, yeah, I'll just show this real quick. 1 second. Yeah, so it's a remarkably simple idea, and I really like it. He's just basically, okay, so I hope I'm explaining this right. I didn't build this myself, and I never had to explain something someone else built, but I think I understood it, and it's a really nice idea. So this is checking if there's more than 10,000 iron ore in this, for example. So, by the way, these chests will always fill up with less than these chests for just like belt reasons, because on the left side it's balanced on this side, but on this side those guys will be prioritized. So it's enough to look at these chests to determine if there's enough to fill up a train. That's one disclaimer right away. And yeah, the way this works is this checks if there's more than 10,000 iron ore in here, and it's going to put out an iron ore equal to 1, which gets multiplied by 10. And this guy, or there's like on every of these output belts, there's this little combinator here, which basically gets this as an input, or the 10 from the 10 iron ore if there's 10,000 in here as an input, and similarly for all the other ores. So they're all running on the same network, these guys. So this is if, say, the copper and iron stations have enough in them, there's going to be an iron ore equal to 10 and a copper ore equal to 10 on here. And this is going to read the belt contents and add them to this. So if there's, say, 4 iron ore on this one, and it's getting the 10 iron ore from the station being full, this is going to say, okay, if it's larger or equal than 14, block this belt. So this is only active when the wooden chest signal, which is nice. I've never used the wooden chest signal, I think. If this is equal to 0, So that means if the iron ore is less than 14, which means either there's no iron ore on this belt, or there's not enough iron ore in these chests, which is a very elegant way, I think, of preventing this whole thing from clogging up. I've tested it overnight and it seems to be working really well. The only thing that was missing was this little connection here. So this one was not there, and this led to one of them filling up with copper. But yeah, this is, thanks for that. It's a really clever and handy way of improving my mining cell. So this is one of the changes that I made, and a few minor changes were made here. For example, this annoyed me terribly. So I had this here, which you can see I can just place this fine here. And then people said, people said this water thing is not connected. And I was like, yeah, but why? This just looked like this basically. Like this. And I was like, yes, it's connected. I can build this here. Why in the world would anyone else not be able to build this here? And then some very nice person last night alerted me that, or I posted a screenshot and he said, yeah, it's the squeak through mod. And I would never in the world have gotten that idea, but yeah, I have the squeak through mod installed, which makes hitboxes a little bit smaller, I guess. So I was able to fit this here, and without the mod you weren't able to do this. So yeah, I've changed this a little bit, and I've changed, there was one inserter missing here, and this guy was not outputting, so I added this. And what else is there? Yeah, I turned these guys into stack inserters, so there's like these tiny little improvements going on. One thing I would like to add, but I haven't done yet, is I think I can make more science in here without any problems. So I can probably go to like 10 science per minute, something like that. So yeah, I might have to get rid of the nice Josef Mark II belts here and instead use the room for something that's actually useful. But yeah, that's a minor change. Okay, I think I'll go back to the test map and see how the expansion goes. I got a little sidetracked there. Alright, so moment of truth. I hope I'm good to go. So let's flip this and let's watch the map. This looks nice. And as you can see, it's already adding the roboports for the next one. This is where if there was any water, this is where the landfill would go. And why are the bots not starting? Oh, I really hope this, because I don't see them. Okay. And just gonna increase the speed here. No, this should be fine. Yeah, so it's built the first cell. Now the bots are being taken out of the global network, and this is not working. Why? Okay, of course I messed up here. Input signals, every time. Okay, now the train went here. Yeah, sorry about that. I keep forgetting having to set this to equal to 1 instead of input count. This has gotten me so many times. But you can see it's going together quite nicely. I mean, the ring building mechanism and everything that happens inside one cell, they don't interact basically. You can use any ring expansion mechanism. You can use the same thing on a ribbon map, just like building cell by cell in one direction. You can do whatever you want. The train's not going to care. The train's going to do its thing inside one cell. So this is really nice. I didn't have to make an awful lot of changes to basically reorganize the whole way this works, because the whole, as I said, the whole cell analysis or finding, water finding, blah blah blah, this was not touched in any way. The only exception to this maybe is how I'm handling taking out and putting back in the robots, but that's, I would consider this belonging to to the ring building mechanism. So yeah, everything else could just be the way it was. Okay, I think that's what I got for today. I know this has probably been even more confusing than the last things that I built. And as I said, like even a few hours after building this, it was hard for me to figure out what exactly was doing what. But yeah, I think this is working quite nicely. I'm gonna, as always, as has become my personal little tradition, I'm gonna attach a little time lapse. I don't think I did this last time, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna add a little time lapse of this, and yeah, hope you found this interesting. Stay hydrated, stay cool, and see you next time.